Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond BMR. Of course, I'm your host, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. This is normally where I say, joining me in Studio B from Missouri, the lovely Krista. Well, don't fret, she is a little under the weather, so I had to move over to Studio C from Missouri, and I got the beautiful Brandy joining me from the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. Please subscribe to them on YouTube. I've got a great show in store for you. Kenneth Thibodeau, North American Dogman Project out of Maine. He's an author, he's an actor, he's a model, he's a journalist, he's everything. Ready to talk a little Dogman tonight. Beyond BMR goes beyond the mysteries of the world. We take you on a deep dive into all of the different rabbit holes, the realms, and all these realities. Do they all come full circle? Are they all related? From Bigfoot to Dogman, UFOs to aliens, time travel to the paranormal. Again, how do these things relate? How do they interact? If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, and of course, Texas Front Porch found on YouTube. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Odyssey Radio, Substrate Radio, and KPNL Radio. Thank you to the lovely Selene in Texas, not in Texas, for that. If you enjoy our content and would like to help what we all do around here, the Super Chat is open. The Super Chat is, of course, a great way to support what we all do around here. And speaking about what we do around here, everybody, on Mondays, don't forget, it is Texas Front Porch. You can find Tex and Brandy, 7 Central, 8 in the East. Tuesday nights, right back here with Beyond BMR and Krista, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Wednesdays on Texas Front Porch is the Diva Dimension, 9 Central, 10 in the East. Thursday, back with me, brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and Tex, 12 noon Central, 1 p.m. in the East. Thursday nights, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast coming at you live, 8 Central, 9 in the East. And if you need a little more woo mixed in with the booze, you got the Blondes and the Booze and the Paranormal Podcast again. Friday night, same time, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Tex is doing something called Infamous Minds. It's true crime. If you are a true crime fan, go check out Tex on Saturdays. And that show times for that is at 3 o'clock in the East. And before we get started, got a couple other announcements I've got to make. I want to thank everybody that has bought my book so far. Found on Amazon, excuse me. Bigfoot Michigan represents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. Thanks for everybody that has bought it. The link is pinned in the chat. The link is in this video. The link's on my YouTube page. So thank you for that. Don't forget, it's Christmas time coming. Get your orders now so you can avoid those extra shipping charges if you want to get it in time for that special loved one for Christmas. So I do appreciate that. And when Amazon comes knocking on your email, please make sure you leave a review. Everything's analytics these days, guys. So the analytics does help drive sales. Now, another brief announcement. June 7th and 8th. That's right. The 2024 Alabama Bigfoot Conference taking place at the Anderson Performing Arts Center. Again, June 7th and 8th. June 7th, we're having a get-together, a meet and greet, and the 8th is the actual conference. Tickets are on sale, $30 online, $35 at the door. Tex Weston is our host. Featured speakers, Barton Nunnally, Daryl Denton, the Blondes and the Booze. That'd be Krista and Brandy. Jason McLean, Greg O's, Martin Grovesan. Who's that other guy on the right there? Oh, that's me, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, BMR. So, yes, you can find these and you can find this flyer and everything on our Facebook pages. They're in the links of all our videos. They're also found on our YouTube page itself. So click on the link if you're interested in coming on down. It's always a great time getting together. I get a chance to meet you guys. I've done 2 of these now, and it's just fascinating. It's awesome to meet the people from chat and people that follow all of us. So that is always a very good time. So go check that out. I absolutely appreciate that, and thank you for that. And enough of my rambling here. I'm going to bring up once I gotta look for something right quick here, everybody. Do. Scrolling down. Here we go. Okay. I got to get that. I got to get some advertisement going. All right. So with that, now I got to get out of this picture. Alabama Bigfoot Conference. So much we got to, mess around with sometimes. I should be a pro at it by now. Now I got to go to brand. Take this off. Now I took that brand down. I got to bring up the other brand. Little Brandy. Hi, Brandy.
I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm
buttons to push.
Well, we got more things that I like to show my book to everybody. And now I got this. Now I got the Alabama Bigfoot Conference. So, and I like to get that out because what's the point of having a conference or a book if you don't, show everything, right? You got to let it be
exactly.
Done.
Exactly.
It takes a little fumbling about like anything new for the first couple times until you get it down. So thanks for coming on and for the ailing Krista.
Yeah, she's feeling a little under the weather.
Yeah, but that's okay. I said, hey, just take care of yourself, get some sleep. And, I was just going to go solo. And then we just got to talking earlier. And he said, well, I'm not doing nothing. I'll come on. I said, well, great. Because you also are familiar with our guest, Kenneth Thibodeau, from maybe a month ago or 3 weeks ago. He was on Front Porch. And that was a great show. And we're going to bring him back. I said, well, you know what? Well, Krista booked Kenny for me some time back. You know how Krista does. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Wasn't he just on? I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm not going to reschedule it because there's different times for both shows and different days. And I'm excited to have our guest on. So thanks for everybody for coming in. I do appreciate it. And with that being said, I'm going to bring up Kenneth Thibodeau, the NADP Maine representative. Hey, Ken.
Hello, friends. How are we doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Long time no see, eh?
I know it hasn't been that. I mean, it's been about a month, but yeah, it hasn't been that long yet. Yeah.
Time does fly when you're having fun, I must say.
This is facts.
Right. Right.
Very true.
And now, and before we even get started, because we're going to get into you and your little history about yourself. And I'm a nice guy. I'm not a mean-spirited guy at all. Most people know me. I'm pretty relaxed, pretty laid back, and I just roll with the flow. But I do have to ask you, is that your real hair or is that a wig? What's going on with that?
All right. So it's extensions. It's my real hair and spray in. So it can be a pain to put in and out, but I feel like it's a cool way to not do anything too permanent to myself that can be taken out at the end of the day or the next day. And I don't know. Yeah. I just feel like I have a tattoo that I like it, but I kind of, over the years, it's nothing that I'm too, hey, check this out. So something when it comes to hair or fashion, it's just easily replaced without really being permanent. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's cool. I think it's a good look. I think that I'm fine with it. I just had to ask because,
No, it's okay.
It's the first thing that popped in my head because I think I saw your video with Tex and Brandy. And I said, now what's that guy got on top of it? You had it all done up, though, last time, if I remember.
Yeah, we were mistaking it for a hat. We thought it was a hat the way he had it all done up like that. It looked like a hat. And he was complaining it was cold, so it was a logical thing to say.
It actually it has been remotely cold on and off up here, but surprisingly, today it was in, I think, like the lower 40s, so it wasn't horrible. But we just had snow 2 days ago, like a couple inches. So.
Yeah, it snowed here. And before we get moving, Wink at Me became a BMR pirate. Arr, thank you.
Arr,
get to R. Now you're a pirate. You get a little picture of me next to your name. Again, that's open if people want to join that. The join button is somewhere on your device. So,
well, it was funny because now, every time you say BMR, you're almost going BMR.
BMR. There you go. BMR. I got a bunch of little swashbucklers.
You got to love when the marketing fits without even trying, right?
Yeah, it just kind of worked out that way. Become a BMR pirate. And I must admit, and I don't mean this offensively, I got more wenches That's the word they used back in pirate days as members and do. So, we got to even that up a little bit. But thank you, wink at me. I do appreciate that. So, I guess moving on then, why don't you, for people that maybe didn't see the front porch back a month ago, or I know you may be a little newer. I know you've written a book, so you've been doing this for a while since as a young boy, you were telling me growing up, you were fascinated with all these cryptids. So before me putting words in your mouth, how did this all start out for you, man?
Well, we can blame my real father, who I used to go see him when I was younger. My mom would ship me off for the weekend, and he had these. It was like an old school VHS. It had to be, and it had something to do with the Loch Ness monster. I specifically remember it was supposed to be the fin that someone took a picture of. It was like an older documentary, but it also had someone's artwork of what they believed potentially a dinosaur could have looked like in the future or something, which was super strange. So from that point on, I just kind of was creeped out, but I was like, wow, that's super cool. So when given the chance at high school level, when I was supposed to be, maybe paying more attention to English class, etc., I would sneak down to the library. And one of my mama's friends was a librarian down there. So I wouldn't say she gave me special privileges. She just allowed me to access the computer that she knew what I wanted to look up, just like Bigfoot type stuff, etc. And she just thought it was humorous. And I ended up stumbling upon North American Dogman Project and Jody Cook. So he pretty much got me into the whole Dogman aspect, but pause now. I still was really super interested in Sasquatch and things like that because I remember when I was a kid, maybe like 13, I told my mom I wanted to take this tour with the BFRO out to the Pacific Northwest, and you obviously had to pay and walk through the woods. And my mom's like, "You realize this costs money, correct?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, who's paying for all this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's actually a pretty valid point right there." So I just continue to pay attention to it and things like that. But I feel over the years, people like Jeff Melbourne and the late John Bindernagel, there's been a lot of real credible scientific-based individuals that have stepped up to the plate to take it on. And I think all the research, for example, that you folks and others have done finally caught the attention of them where they took that on. So I would say around 10 years ago is when I started digging more, because I've been paying attention to the Dogman, like I said, since way back. But around 10 years ago, I started gearing off more from Sasquatch and stuff, because like I said, I still think it's in great hands. I mean, it's pretty much been proven by science to exist. I mean, they've come out and like stated it, John Bindernagel and Meldrum and stuff. So it's in great hands. I think now, this is just my opinion, I really think the Dogman is super undervalued in regards of just not being paid attention to. If you look at the encounters and the documentations, it goes back just as far as Sasquatch and things like that. And there's just as many, potentially, if not more, sightings of Dogmen that occur. But for some reason, it just wasn't picked to be paid attention to. I feel like it's got to be next in line. I mean, Loch Ness Monster, Chupacabra, sure, I respect all that stuff. But if people want like the scientific aspect, Dogman's got a ton of stuff with castings, DNA stuff. I mean, there's more evidence for Dogman than there is for Loch Ness Monster, in my opinion.
Well,
but
I'm sure there is. Really quickly, what I'm impressed with, I don't know how old you are. I'm gathering a lot younger than me. But okay, growing up, I liked all the cryptids too. I didn't know anything about Dogman ever. Now I know the Dogman from doing research and talking to people. Dogman's been around since Bigfoot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 500 BC with the Greece. Yeah.
Right. What I think is cool about you couldn't have been that old to really get into it, because publicly, for me, I can only speak for me and nobody else. The Dogman Phenomena hit Michigan because Wexford County is now labeled in the state of Michigan the Dogman capital in Michigan. And that phenomenon was really brought forward in 1987. So for you, being a younger dude, I mean, you caught on to this before maybe a lot of people. So that's really a credit to what you started doing already.
I appreciate the
Mhm.
kind words, my friend. Yeah, no, I just think it needs to be documented, and people like, again, the late Linda Godfrey, people like Jody Cook, and people that are way before me that have documented this stuff. It only makes sense to continue what they've brought to the table, but also be able to build off it, because I had a really good database to work with, map systems and etc. So I really just want to approach it, like I said, as a journalist. I mean, if everyone forces me in a corner and where it's like, do you believe in Dogman? You know what my answer is 100% is I've never experienced a cryptid in my life, anything paranormal. I've never seen anything along the lines of that. I don't know, but I do know there are a ton of people that I have spoken to that are seeing things that date all the way back to times before I existed, where I've spoken to relatives of theirs, and not all of them can be labeled as not being able to identify what they've seen. So people are definitely seeing something that is to them resembling a canine, and I think it's super important that it is documented and brought in light to.
We always talk about documentation. Just like, hey, Rob, how come you're telling a story about Dogman crossing, or excuse me, we're talking Dogman today, but it's more just if I say, how come you always tell a story about Bigfoot crossing the road? It's so boring. Well, yeah, to me, it's not boring, number one. But number
Yes.
two, even though it's come across 1,000 times, it's always important to document this, because if you go back and look at everybody's encounters they've had with cryptids, let's say, a lot of them are different, but they all have the same commonalities. So
Yes.
when you put together this big database, you can start plugging in, right, into a matrix, and you can start working these with the more data that you have. And it does. And I always tell people, I don't care if you've never seen a cryptid, never had a ghost encounter or a paranormal experience. That has nothing to do with people in the field, because I can
Yeah.
tell you guys have been looking on the hunt for Bigfoot for 30 years, have never seen an actual Bigfoot,
Yes, true.
and
so.
and there's a ton of people such as yourselves that really get out there. And I mean, I definitely go to areas that are local to me that I'm able to, but I also think, as you both just said, it's super important to have somebody just documenting things and being able to put that together. So in the book I'm doing right now, I at some point I have to release it according to people, because you have to build off it. But I'm going to continuously keep it as a digital database as well, because it's up to like 363 pages from all
Mm.
across the United States, all across Europe, North America would be the United States. Sorry about it. I meant Canada, South America. So I yes, I have to publish it at some point, but I also want to always keep that where I can build off that. So if I sit down with other researchers or anyone that wants to see that, I can send a PDF form that has everything right there. But it's just like I said, I was just suggested at some point you have to publish it. So probably around 400 pages is when I'll look at, I guess, building the next volume. But as I said, it's all still going to be there, where if tonight you wanted to see it, I could send you a PDF with everything.
Right. Well, I might have to hit you up on that. And another cool thing is, I'm not going to do them all in this first half, because we do take a 5-minute break at the 52-minute mark, just to let you know. And you do have some evidence. You got a couple pictures that you did send to me, and I'm not going to show them all before the break. I'm going to throw in a couple here and there that I found fascinating, that I like you to talk about, if you don't mind, here
Of course.
while we get rolling here. I I want to kind of get these in an order. What I will do is I'm going to go with the two okay ones until we get to the really good ones. So here's one here. So
So what's super okay, so yeah, those are the Shenango Valley, and my friend Jamie King, actually, who isn't, he had no interest in Dogman really whatsoever. He is just a straightforward kind of Bigfoot guy. He was researching Sasquatch in actually that occurs on the other side of this lake area. So this side right here is newer area that he was going to kind of look at. On the other side is where him and his wife had their numerous encounters with vocalizations and things like that of Sasquatch. So he happened to come across some really interesting images and prints and had some activity, and he was suggested to speak to me, which was super cool. And from there, I actually have helped him gather a pretty good grasp of potentially what he may have encountered while he was taking those castings. And now I've opened his realm to looking into Dogman actually being a thing because of the stuff I've shared with him. So that's actually pretty cool. But what's super intriguing about that is it's an old military place in Shenango Valley, which is in Pennsylvania. And that was during the summer levels when the water was down a little bit lower. And he came across these really strange holes like that. And people are familiar with that. That's a way for animals or people that are in survival situations, if water's not clean or accessible near something, they can dig like that, and the clean water will come up through, or no matter how far you dig down, the water is going to pool into there. So he found some of those, which are super interesting. And by those, he found those tracks that looked like they were coming up out of the water. And while he was there casting them and actually live chatting with me, the second time he went back to cast it, he was in the same area. But during the first time he went there and had the first encounter where before he went back to actually cast the print, he said there were small sticks being thrown at him and it was dead silence. And what I was trying to explain to him is in a ton of Dogman encounters, they throw rocks, chuck things as well. So it's I gave him some things to key in on and not necessarily think it was a Bigfoot, because they act similar in regards of that. And so that's when he went back again. And now I basically have him trying to scope the area for me. And he just recently sent me a video of the distance between the bipedal tracks and anything. So the average stride length, I don't know, for example, what the average human stride length is, but I do know in some of the documented cases that people have told me that they know the creature was bipedal. It was around 28 to 36 inches in between their tracks while they were walking.
Okay. Hey, let me ask you right quick, because I see, moving away from the hole with the water in it, I see an actual heel with 3 toes on the lower left corner here. I do see. I saw that almost
Yeah, I did
immediately.
too.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like something smaller. It looks like a heel, and I see 3 toes, much like what I've gotten from you, which we'll show a little later. But I got to ask you this, because you're always going to get this from people, and this is not me being a dick.
No, of course.
When you look at this hole filled with water, and you're trying to explain it, you're going to have the person saying, "Well, why is that a track? All it is a hole filled with water." Now, I can see what apparently could be some possible toes. So, how do you counter people that, let's say, are trying to get your goat or get you upset? What do you say to people like that?
Well, first off, like I don't get upset because I'm always trying to learn. So I just really sit back, read what the individual or listen to what they're saying potentially could be going on, because it's super important to be subjective and objective.
I agree.
Yeah. And I also have a friend of mine who's a master tracker who works with the North American Dogman Project named Nuxion. He's from California and he's a naturalist. He actually lives in the Sierra Nevadas. So he is a really good person that I'm able to send tracks to. And he has pretty much debunked, I wouldn't say debunked because they were real animal tracks, but people were either presenting them to me as Dogman tracks or just didn't know what they were looking at. But he's been able to decipher whether it was a raccoon, a Saint Bernard, for example, in mud or in areas like snow, sand. A print can always look bigger depending on if there's moisture, water, things like that. But now, if you're looking at prints in harder rock areas, for example, like he has some castings from up near Cascade Lake, which is an old volcano. Now, if you're making an impression in that, that means you have some girth to yourself. So it's, like I said, I just always try to, before I ever post something in the album of potential Dogman tracks, I always try to send it out to him and Jody and some other people and just get their opinions, because I've been bamboozled a few times on tracks where I was like, whoa, those are crazy. And I sent them to somebody and they showed me how it was this picture, but they blew the picture up by their foot and made it look so much bigger. So, it's just important to have a good group of individuals around you that you can send that out with, but also just be able to listen to people. I mean, it's not a bad thing to learn and be wrong. I feel like as a society and as people, we feel like it's a bad thing to be wrong.
You're right. And again, I asked you that because people are going to ask these questions. I just want to know what your plan was. And
of course,
what you're saying, I 1,000% agree with. In fact, a lot of people, it's always good to be debunked because we can cast tracks and find tracks and take pictures. And Brandy and Krista are great at this.
Yes.
I love when people, the first thing that we all should try to do is debunk whatever evidence we find.
Yes, that's a good thing.
Brandy and Krista do it with pictures all the time. If they're right, Brandy, if you want to speak on that a little bit, I agree with that.
Well, it's just kind of like for us, because we're going constantly through pictures and of course audio. When we find a picture that we could believe that it may be this or that, my favorite saying is, when in doubt, throw it out. So I don't have that what ifs comments. It's always like, this is what it is. You can plainly see it. Take it or leave it.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
And no, I totally agree with that. And I encourage anyone to try to come debunk anything. I mean, that's right. That is literally what I'm trying to do. I'm not going to get offended. I can't speak for other people. If someone debunks something that someone posted and they wanted it to be real, well, you shouldn't have posted fake stuff. But I encourage everyone and anyone to debunk stuff, and please help with that. I mean, it just betters the evidence. It makes it cleaner. So when you do sit down with people that are potentially more educated on the scientific level, you're not showing them a track. They're like, this is a bear. You're showing them tracks that have already been, debunked, or that's a raccoon. Right.
And you should see me. You should see me, because this is totally hilarious. I'll have something on film, and then I'm like, oh, I got some. And somebody's like, oh, well, this, and this. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my little heart sinks.
Yeah, of course. I mean, because we all want to try to get the smoking gun and stuff, but no, that's
exactly.
Right. Because there's too many people. Again, I'm never going to ever say names, but there's just way too many people that go out there that seem to always find something no matter what, that are always trying to supposedly see something on thermal all the time. And that's okay, but I don't think that really helps in regards of trying to get people. How do I say this? Like, no matter how hard I try, I don't matter in regards of the scientific community, which is okay. But my research can matter in the proper hands, because then you have someone that is allowed to have a voice in the scientific field to speak up and be like, hey, this is legit. And then because of that, you're no longer a backyard researcher. Then you've gotten some stamp of approval. But until then, unfortunately, like I said, my voice is heard amongst friends such as yourselves, and hopefully anyone that I'm able to reach out to, etc. But I've never been able to. Actually, I've spoken to one girl through YouTube who's a biologist that I'm trying to get her to dabble in it. She's listened to me, but I'm trying to get her to talk to me. But but besides that, I've never really had a chance outside of Nuxium, the tracker, to really have someone with that scientific backing to talk to me and stuff. So.
No, absolutely. And let me ask you, what are some of your, without giving it away? Now you do a lot of. You said the north. You've been researching in the northeast part of the United States. Is
Yep.
that all Maine, or do you go all around?
So, all right, I would specialize in Maine, but that's my specialty because that's where I live. I actually live right in the greater Portland area, which is near Portland, Gorham, Scarborough, Westbrook, right around that little area. So, yeah, no, I definitely specialize and want to gather as much about Maine because I'm here, but there is way more to the Dogman picture than just in Maine, which is why I document everything, but I'm not in California. So someone from California, excuse me, still document all that, and I would love to speak to them. But I assume they probably have people in California that they reach out to before being referred to me. I mean, I've had a couple people reach out to me from across seas, which is super cool. But that's my goal in general is I want, just because I'm the main state rep, that I research everything. So the Northeast would be like Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts. So all pretty much in that area where I could venture off into. But like I said, Pennsylvania is out of my reach, but it's just a text away. And I have people down there that are on the ground with their feet all the time. So yeah, no, I just think it's important to, like I said, specialize in the area I'm in because I can actually go to those places, but also
Right.
yeah, but also making sure that I'm speaking to individuals such as yourselves because you're still just as beneficial to the machine as a cog as anyone else is because you're in an area that you can probably gather data. Put it this way, if I'm documenting something from your area and you're into what I'm into, 9 out of 10 times you have to know about that before I do because I'm hearing that through either someone that's been referred to me or a third party person sometimes, or I'm hearing it through a book and I'm reading it from that area, but you're down in that area and you're actually researching that. So that's what I mean. There has to be things in my book, unfortunately, that I haven't been able to document from your areas just because I'm not there.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Brandy. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and that's good. I mean, that you have the areas that you can go in because you're specialized in basically one area. It's nice to have that and to have it closer. Unfortunately, with me being in Missouri and I'm this close to the land between the lakes and the Ozarks and it's
That's
like
great.
it's a paranormal cryptid buffet. It's just
So
like
your
you
range is
never know.
like what my main range would be because you're like, yeah, if you were to take Maine and stick it right there, your distance you're probably going, yeah, exactly. But you
Yeah.
have more of a buffet to go from.
Yeah, I mean, you could have anything because anything from the Ozark Howler to Dogman to Bigfoot
Yep.
to the paranormal, supernatural. Yeah.
No,
So it's just kind of like, for me, I can't specialize in anything because I'm interested in everything.
but that's good though. That's super good because I mean we need people like that as well. And I'll listen to anyone's story. I just feel for myself as an individual to just do justice to the topic that I'm trying to. I feel like I need
Oh,
to
yeah.
devote all my extra attention just to
Yeah.
this until I'm able to feel, I guess, in my eyes that I can put it in somebody else's hands, that it's in safer and better hands. And then from there, I think maybe potentially I could look out for other things. But there's just every time I think I'm caught up with a Dogman, there's just more. Like I just find more. I'm so far down the rabbit hole that every time I move dirt, there's more stuff that like matters. Like every time I think I'm caught up on the book, I get like another 45 minutes worth of stuff I have to insert, which is okay. But that's why I just feel it's not that I'm not interested in other stuff like the Jabba Fofi, that giant spider from the Congo. That's super cool. And I mean, that's something else that I've read into a ton of that, but I just don't have enough brain power to bring aspects to both of that, I guess.
Right,
What?
right. And my hat's off to you though for going, for focusing in on Dogman, because I tell you what, that is probably the one cryptid I'd probably never want to run into ever.
Yeah,
I don't even want to
understandable.
look at it.
Definitely
Yeah.
understandable.
Well, I want to get some more of these encounter stories you've heard from other folks
Oh yeah.
really quickly. But before I say that, I just want to make a thing. I typed something. I read a comment. Again, you guys, people are free to say whatever you want on my platform, on Brandy's, whoever. We're open for free speech. But the only thing that I won't want you guys doing, and we don't allow, don't talk about other people and other people's channels or guests. No one said anything about you, but other people's channels, you guys, we don't play that here.
Yeah, yeah,
So
no,
if you
yeah.
got to
It's
talk about
neutral.
someone else's channel,
Yeah.
please go somewhere else for that because we don't do it. And I had to make that statement clear because what I typed came out wrong, and everybody looks to get you for everything you say.
Oh yeah. Cancel.
So
Cancel.
I had to back that up. So I'm sorry for interrupting you on that. But
No, it's okay. I mean, that's like my big thing is just be good people. So I mean, that's like something I try to live by. So yeah.
so why don't you get into? We got some time. Why don't you give us a couple? Again, it doesn't have to be horrific. It don't have to be scary. What some of the research and stories you've got from people you've interviewed with, where you're thinking, man, that's one hell of an encounter, good, bad, or in between.
Yeah, no, definitely. There is a super, super gnarly encounter from 1980 in Germantown, Ohio, where there's a bunch of local residents that still remember it very well. That the police just started going up and down the streets telling everyone they had to go inside because the wolves had escaped from the local nature reserve. So everyone's like, well, these are tame wolves that we pretty much visit all the time. So why is it? What's the big issue right now? Well, they obeyed and went inside because the police were like, look, we got to go inside. And throughout the whole entire night, and still to this day, people all across that area, like Defiance, near Butter Street, which is in Germantown, they all reported seeing strange bipedal black wolf-like creatures that had glowing red eyes that were peering in their windows, trying to open doors, and super strange things. And they all reported hearing like human like screams mixed in with coyote like wolf type howls. Then you have another case from down there where these women, and I never like to throw out dates unless I'm 100% because I don't have my book in front of me. In this case, I'm telling you, I have documented it, but I'm not going to throw a date out because that's incorrect information.
Understandable.
Yes. So, but this next case, these women are sitting at a salon in the middle of the afternoon downtown Germantown, which Jody Cook, who is from that area, told me is pretty small. Downtown Germantown, it's just small little city. So they're all sitting there getting their hair done. One of the women is like, "What the heck is that?" And they look over, and this huge, shaggy, black, dog-like wolf creature was leaning up against the window of the salon, looking in at them. And they were startled, so they said they started walking forward. The dog or wolf thing, dog man, whatever you want to call it, dropped down, and that it snapped its head like it had heard something, and then it pushed itself back up and just went running like hunched over down the block and out of sight, down and around the corner. So those two right there are two of my more creepy encounters that have come from the Ohio area. There's a ton of stuff down there, but those two right there are nightmare fuel for sure. And then there's another case from Texas, actually, where these brothers and one of their friends are out fishing, and they're sitting there fishing, talking. It's getting dark. They start hearing rustling in the bushes or big rocks thrown at them in the water. They're like, what the heck? So they try to turn this old spotlight they have on their boat, but it was rusty wires because it's just this old crappy boat. So they never really cared about redoing the wires because it usually works. So fiddling with it, the light turns on and they see what they claim is a black bipedal dogman-like creature walking towards them. The light goes out. They're like, get the light back on. And then he gets the light back on. And now the creature is obviously much closer than before. So they're like, what the hell? And then they hear something now from over here. And so they're trying to gather their stuff. The light goes out again. They're like, what the hell? So trying to get the light on again. Boom, they finally get it back on, and they're hopping into the boat. And as they like get the light shine back out, they said that they saw at least 2 of these creatures coming towards them. And as they were taking off, they was like walking in the water and like coming at them. So that's another creepy one. And then just recently up in northern Ontario, this couple was at a remote cabin, and they were boogie boarding, or whatever you want to call it, bodyboarding. And they said as they came out at the edge of this little, like it wouldn't be an island, but just a little small set of land, as they came around the corner of it, they said that they thought at first they saw a black lab or a chocolate lab that was someone's dog that must have been in trouble because it was swimming kind of towards them. So they started calling the dog towards them. And as they're doing this, the thing starts coming towards them. And they said like a motorboat started kind of coming down this way. So they thought it was their dog. So they're waving at like the guys or the people in the motorboat. Hey, we have your dog. And they said at this point in time, the creature or dog got spooked, and it popped its head out a little bit more. And they said at that point in time, they realized it was not a chocolate lab, that it had like these bright amber eyes and a huge like wolf type head, and that it took its arms and like swam in the other direction to get away from what they were going at. And as the boat came forward, the couple said that they didn't speak English, unfortunately, but they could tell that they were like, what the hell was that? Like basically trying to ask them what they had just seen. So, and then there's another case from Canada where a couple is just sitting there camping, and they heard splashing, and they looked around and they saw a dark brown 6 to 8 foot dogman pop up out of the water, and that it was swimming around in the water, like getting stuff, and that it started to walk towards them, but they started screaming and throwing stuff at it, and it caused it to turn around and go back down. And they said it popped up like a short distance away over towards the opposite shore and got out and then walked on 2 legs into the forest. So
Did they kind of go into more detail on how it swam? If they said that it was swimming, did they say it was swimming more like a canine or something else?
They said, well, because like with the one that looked like the chocolate lab, because it was kind of at the distance, that it was it wasn't doing like necessarily like a human type stroke, even though it had like the arms, but it was more of kind of just like
more of a dog,
like a bear or how a deer. Just you're still using your swimming. But they said it was moving pretty well though. Like in the case where the 2 people said they were throwing rocks at it, they said that version of the creature they saw definitely had no problem being in or near water. I mean, I've heard a ton of cases with that. There was a gentleman camping late at night by himself watching the stars. And he said he's just sitting there, and all of a sudden, as he looks down in the water, he said he's looking and he sees what he thinks is a friggin' large wolf sitting on this piece of wood, a driftwood, literally looking right at him, like 15, 20 feet in front of him. So he says he does a double take, and it's there, and it's watching him. He's looking at it, and he said the thing kept looking over like this towards this tall grass in the corner. And he said he got the feeling that it was trying to communicate with something else, or potentially another group of its dogmen in the bushes over there. So he got up and obviously ran to his truck and left as well. But I have a ton of cases of them being in and near and around water. And like with Jamie King's from Shenango Valley, he said they're coming up out of the water. So I mean, any animal, it's a path of least resistance if it can get across something quicker, but this thing is swimming as well. So it obviously has no fear, such as like a tiger. A tiger has no fear of the water. In India, it swims and it grabs people in canoes all the time. And people would think a large cat would be afraid of the water. So it's definitely around and active in water. I mean, there's a case from old school England where they chased it out of the town, a huge black wolf that was terrorizing the locals and eating pets and livestock. And they literally watched it jump off a bridge and swim at least a mile to like a newer set of land and run off into like the forest and stuff. So, yeah.
I tell you, there's so many of these dogman encounters or stories that I've gotten over the years, and what you just brought up. a lot of them that we find are kind of like on the ones that I find, I will say again, I always have to qualify what I'm going to say. Have been more threatening and more terrifying than, again, we talked about Bigfoot crossing the road, or I saw a Bigfoot lurk and play peekaboo from behind a tree. Dogman, I've had so many of these things where they're following you from the tree line. You can look into the tree line and there's red eyes, just red eyes literally
Oh yeah,
following your every
yeah, they're
path.
in the trees too. Though I've had cases where people have seen them sitting like maybe 15, 20 feet up in a tree. There's actually a case where this kid was up at his family's cabin. His father had just passed away, so the family decided they're going to get rid of the cabin. And he goes up there, and in the nighttime, he said there's a huge. So basically, like the cabin was built into a mountain on the back, so there was like one really large front window, and there was a small window in the bathroom. He said, but it was dense, huge forest all around. But it had been cleared out enough where their cabin was built. But there was a huge tree that they called the sitting tree. But there was no way someone could really get up there and sit on it. Like, or you'd have to climb like 20 feet up to sit on this branch. But he said when you looked out that big, huge window, you could see why they called it the sitting tree. Well, this kid claimed that he saw a dog-like wolf creature that was walking around his property and that was sitting up on like that walking branch or the sitting tree looking at him. So you have cases with them being in trees. You also have cases of them potentially setting traps and things like leaving. I spoke to a gentleman from Alaska who came across a caribou in the middle of the road, got out because he's like, what the heck? And it had been like disemboweled and stuff. He said that as he's trying to look at what's going on, he ends up looking over into the tree line, and like 20 yards away, he sees a huge black, like jacked up looking werewolf type creature. He said just watching him. And I mean, you got cases of that from Wisconsin on Bray Road where a couple women have said that they hit something, got out, then chased them back to their car. I got cases in Maine where a woman said it ran up and tried to open her door in the car. I mean, as you said, it's definitely not so correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know. I'm not the most updated on Sasquatch, but from what I understand from the Native American and indigenous people that I'm friends with, throughout their belief systems and culture, the Sasquatch is more a guardian of the forest. And unless you're being extremely disrespectful to the forest, they're potentially not going to go out of their way to injure you. Like I spoke to Tex about it with like Ape Canyon. They didn't even kill those guys. They just pushed them out of it. And that was after like Tex said they shot one of the Sasquatch. So I'm sure you have rogue ones, but like Rob was just saying with the Dogman, it's always, I mean, you have a couple cases where it wasn't maybe acting predatory, but it's not usually a nice interaction in regards of, hey, I really want to go over there and be friends or like interact with that. Like I personally, so I have a theory that, with lone wolves, a lone wolf is either kicked out of their pack for being a dink, or they're a younger male that is wanting to go build their own new pack. So if you have dinks or whatever you want to use that have been pushed out of their packs, those also congregate with each other. So if dogmen are smart, which assumingly they are, they're trying to open doors and set traps and things like that. Well, they're going to have to know at some point or another, if you're consistently killing people, well, people are going to come looking for you. So I think that in a lot of those situations, their instinct will kick in where they want to come and get you, but also the intellectual aspect will potentially stop them with the repercussions that could come. But with the ones that are the aggressive kind of asshole ones, those ones are grouping up, I think. And I think those ones are the ones that are potentially taking people, especially like in the national parks, or like that story in North Carolina where Dave and his wife said that 4 of them were chasing their camper near Roanoke Island and stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of my thought on that. It's just a theory, but if you look at the cave systems in the United States that have been documented, and then you look above in the areas where people have gone missing and where there's Dogman activity, it's really quite baffling.
Yeah, I can imagine. You know, that just makes me wonder, like, when we're seeing these things, I mean, a lot of reports that I've noticed have just one, but then I've seen reports where it's had multiple dogmen, you know, reported being seen. I'm just wondering if they're not hanging out in groups more often. We're just seeing the one because the others may be sizing us up and trying to figure out,
Yes.
you know, are we worth it?
So, and when you
Really
say that,
really quickly, I don't hate to cut you off. That's a great point. We can discuss that in the second half because we're coming up on our break we got to take here. Yes, Brandy, I like that. Kenneth, I know you got some thoughts on that. And I also have a question for you regarding, well, I'll let you know when we come back. And we also got some great track prints, or how you say that I got to show for everybody later. So everybody, we got to take our 5-minute break. Don't go nowhere. Get up, go to the bathroom, get a drink, get some chips, pop, whatever you need to do. But we got to take our break for our sponsors. Ken Thibodeau, the main rep for the NADP. Fantastic show. Thanks for coming on. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond BMR. I'm your host, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. We got a great show. Ken Thibodeau, North American Dogman Project out of Maine, has joined us today. Before we continue on with the show, I do want to thank Be Kind for the $10 super chat. And I also did want to thank Wink at Me for becoming a BMR pirate. Of course, if you want to become a pirate, there's a join button somewhere on your device, your phone, your computer, or whatever. Channel Warhorse, I don't know if you're still in chat or not. You might want to check with Google Play because the super chat did not go through on this end. So you might want to check with that just to let you know about that. My email for those asking is scrolling down here. It's beyondthebmr@gmail.com. A couple stories people wanted to send in to me. I noticed. Thanks, Be Kind, for asking. But yeah, it is public and it's scrolling down here. So thank you so much for that. Don't forget Texas Front Porch Mondays, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Tuesdays, Beyond BMR, myself and typically Krista. She's sick. Brandy's filling in, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Wednesday on Texas Front Porch is a Diva Dimension, 9 Central, 10 in the East. And then you've got Thursday back with me and Tex, Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob, 1 o'clock in the East, 12 Central. The Blondes, the Booze Paranormal Podcast, Thursday nights, 8 Central, 9 in the East. And if you need more woo with the booze, you get them again on Friday, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Text us something called Infamous Minds. Infamous Minds with Danielle Diva talks about true crime. That is on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Also, got to throw this out here. We got to start promoting our, once again, I got to, get more adept at this here with the new banners we got out here. If I can find it. There it is. Don't forget, June 7th and the 8th, 2024, Alabama Bigfoot Conference, hosted by Tex, Barton Nunley, Daryl Denton, Blondes and Booze, Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Mark Groves, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, that, of course, is me speaking. Tickets are now on sale online for $30, $35 at the door. It's a great time. Great time in Alabama. Really a beautiful state. And for everybody who's bought my book, thank you so much. Bigfoot Michigan Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1, found on Amazon. The link is pinned here. It's pinned everywhere. It's on my YouTube page. It's on Instagram. It's all over. Take advantage of the shipping costs, folks, before it gets too late. A great Christmas buy for everybody. Those that have bought it, please leave a review when Amazon does come a-calling. With that being said, Brandy, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. I'm
Okay,
good.
and we'll bring our great guest back up. Hey, man, fantastic show thus far. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, Kenny.
Yes, no, I appreciate both of you taking time out of your schedule as well. So kudos.
It's always something going on. We all appreciate it. The people in chat are really loving it too. And thanks for everybody for coming on in. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, Texas Front Porch on YouTube. And of course, you've got a YouTube channel, don't you, Kenny? What's the name of your channel?
Yeah, so it's StarFox_media. And it should pop up. You should see my little Star Fox logo. It's supposed to be myself as a little Star Fox. So long story short, I'm a graphics designer, videographer. So I need an area to put up projects that I work on. But if people are interested in certain topics that are on my channel, I do have it split up into playlists. So, I mean, I have comedic videos I've worked on that are under a section. I have sports videos. Like last night, I just finished my favorite hockey goaltender from Maine that plays for the Bruins now, Jeremy Swayman. Just put together a really cool college tribute for him. But I also, again, do all my Dogman stuff on there. But I have playlists to try to separate that stuff. So, yeah, anyone that would like to check out what I do, there's definitely got to be something on there that will catch or spark your amusement or your entertainment. So.
Awesome. That's great. And I got to step away for about 1 minute because I was doing something. And then all of a sudden I realized the break was up. But before the start of the break.
Yeah, I remember the question.
There was a great question about Dogman traveling in packs. Why don't you guys start that? And I'll be back in under 60 seconds.
So, yeah, no, that's a great point because actually a ton of encounters, people will say that this Dogman starts coming towards them and potentially acting aggressive, and then you hear another strange howl coming out from the distance, turns his head and goes off in the other direction. So obviously that means something else of its pack is communicating with it. But there are also a ton of instances when people suggest, hey, why are there not bodies? Well, I guess my response to that would be, if you did successfully kill a dogman and they had others around, I probably wouldn't be trying to stand there in a standoff and take out more of them. I would leave the area. But when people do come back, they find the blood and stuff. But people don't realize that large apes, such as gorillas and things, take their dead and they bury them in leaves and kind of like a casket. And again, if we're talking about things that are smart, which from the evidence that has been documented, they're going to come back for their dead. And there's actually been an encounter where a gentleman said that after they shot one and ran back to their ranch house, that him and his son were looking out the windows and they saw a bunch of red eyes because they had followed them back. And one of them came near the door. They shot this one, and they said that they killed that as well. And they literally watched some of the other ones come out of the darkness, pull it back into the darkness of the woods. And then they had like left after like 30, 40 minutes of just like circling the house. So, yeah, I mean, and then if you look at like the Ape Canyon incident where they tried to go get the body of their fallen companion as well. Yeah, no, I think that's a really reasonable accusation that has a lot of merit, to be quite honest with you. Because I mean, any sort of animal that is pack oriented is going to have more success consistently than a single sort of animal. It's just reality. I mean, a pack of wolves is going to be more successful on the regular than a tiger is. Not that the tiger doesn't eat, but a tiger is a one-man crew. So the tiger has to be a little bit more selective as to what it's going to go after. Where I've seen packs of wolves in Yellowstone go right up to a grizzly bear and literally be like, yeah, this is ours. And the bear's like, I don't think so. But there's like 12 wolves that are like, yeah, I think so. So, like, yeah, it's just what shows you that they're not as necessarily selective. Because, I mean, the wolves looked pretty well fed. They didn't look like they were starving. And they just, hey, there's more of us. This is ours.
Brandy, I don't know if you had your take on that yet as I stepped away, because I have my take.
Well, you know, I mean, he was talking about not finding bodies and things. I mean, it's possible they could dig a hole. I mean, they're very capable of digging a hole and just, you know, I mean, but we also have to think of, and I hate to say this, but I mean, cannibalistic tendencies that they could be eating their own.
100%. I mean, so many animals consume other animals that as a food source. No, I mean, that's all very valid encounter information as well, for sure.
I think that one of the reasons for not finding bodies, I think number one, cryptids do. I think that they bury their dead. If there's you know,
gorillas, like I was saying, do that as well. So I mean, there's known animals that I watched the video. So I have a pet squirrel, and I watched a super sad video that my roommate's grandfather had on. I just happened to see, like, this squirrel's baby got caught in a trap, and it was still alive, and the mom squirrel was over there trying to get her baby out of the trap, like yelling for help and stuff. Oh, it was on Alone. That's what it was. He was watching a segment of Alone, and the woman needed to get some food, so she had to kill the little squirrel. But that shows you right there, like, I have a pet squirrel. I know how smart she is, but people would be like, oh, they don't have feelings. Well, if you watch that right there, that's a legitimate interaction between her pretty much saying goodbye to her child. So now step it up to a little bit more to animals, I guess, that science thinks have more of a capability, such as like chimpanzees or primates or dolphins or things like that. And you look at how they act, you really got to, not you folks, but you really need to understand that there's a hierarchy and also a lot that goes on into how animals act and what they do. So if you look at like the Jan Thompson, some of the things she was talking about, I believe she said her uncle found down by this old mill these large holes that had been dug in the ground that looked like something was basically just tossing all these animal type body parts in there. And it was all like down the banks of this area. And he said they had gone pretty far in. And it was later on, after she and her cousin had the encounter where he got scratched. It was later on when I believe her uncle was like, "This is why I don't want you in the forest, because I know what's potentially going on there." And there's been a couple of cases where I've spoke to people that have seen them digging dens. One guy was camping with another guy, and they literally saw a dogman just sitting there watching them all night. And then following morning, when they got a little bit of courage to go over to the area where they saw it, because it wasn't there anymore, there was like a huge burrow that went down underneath this brush, like pretty far down into their ground. And I mean, we know animals make burrows and things. So yeah, I think that's pretty, I mean, foxes, so many animals make burrows. So,
and again, like we were talking earlier with a good friend of ours, Bart Nunnally out in Kentucky, the underground,
Mammoth Cave
tunnels, yes, Mammoth Cave system, all that. And and just by the natural selection process, maybe not the selection, but wildlife in general in the middle of the forest, especially if it's where no man has really set foot. Say you shoot it, how many deers? We have over 1 billion deer in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in the woods and I've come across a skull maybe once of a deer.
Yes.
Just by the natural creatures that eat away the insects, the parasites, small predators, large predators, small animals, foxes, squirrels. They eat these things and they even eat the bones. A lot of the reasons we don't, you might find a femur or a skull because that's just too thick to get through.
They get pulled around. My squirrel, yeah, she chews on like chicken bones, dude, because of the marrow and stuff inside of that.
Yeah,
so yeah, no, 100%.
And another thing too, really quickly, I do get a lot of stories about Dogman. I had it on 2 stories in my book and a couple coming out in the second book already that I'm working on. I had 2 stories. Dogman Island, there was 3 dogmen on this island. And there was another story in the book. There was another 3. In fact, there was a pack of 3, and then it turned into 5 that were circling this cabin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason they called them dogmen is because they were on all 4s, but then they all rose and started walking around on 2 legs, which leads me into what I wanted to ask you. There's a different variety and species, I think, of the dogman, right?
Yes.
Now, I've always heard about the bipedal dogman, which is basically looks like a German Shepherd, but it can stand and walk on 2 legs and has kind of the hocked legs like our dogs, but they can walk around and they look more like a dog than a wolf. Basically, a bigger body with a big oversized German Shepherd head. That's one. And the other one is one has legs like Bigfoot or legs like you and I that are more intimidating and ferocious. And they've got the hands that men and women have. So these are the 2 that I find and talk about all the time. So with you, since you've been doing this with your research and with the people you've spoken with, have you gotten both of the same, how shall I say, types of dogmen? Like I just described?
When I take people's, I've gotten so weathered at it now that I know certain terminologies, what they're meaning. So people that are unsure and that might have no sort of interest in the topic, first word that's going to come to their mouth is werewolf. But we know, or I shouldn't say we know, but I think that the werewolf topic would fall more into the Wendigo skinwalker. I think the dogman stays in the dogman form, but they're not even looking at it like that when they're telling you. They're just literally telling you what they saw, and werewolf fits that. But then also,
I think shapeshifter when you say werewolf.
Yes, but as they're telling me that, I realize that they're not saying it formed in front of them, but they just use that term because they aren't familiar with Dogman or Bearzilla or Saber Wolf or all these other potential indigenous type terms that were used. So same thing with the Wolfman. So now when I hear someone be like, "Oh, I swear I saw a werewolf," I start thinking, okay, because almost every time I hear that is the dark black one, pointed ears, bright red or bright yellow eyes, the long muzzle. So that would be your type 1, your traditional. Most people say it looks like the werewolf from Van Helsing, but black. So with the pointed ears, and it's got like a tail that's like a shaggy, decent sized tail. And then you have your type 2 one, which is what you were speaking about, which is the German Shepherd one that still has a similar type body as the werewolf, but it's got more of the colorations of the German Shepherd and the larger German Shepherd type head. And then the type 3 is the hyena type looking one, which is the same thing, very similar in regards to the body-ish, but it's got the colorations and the head style of the hyena. And I actually just had a case shared with me from BBR Investigations, Deborah Hatswell, about these farmers over in Morayshire, Scotland, that killed this type 3 dogman on their property that had been killing a bunch of local rancher stuff. So they all went together to go get it. And they said it stunk really bad, like fox urine. And I've heard from numerous people that they say they stink like wet dog and rotten flesh. But they also said its arms were like squirrel type, like rat, but human like arms, like raccoonish type arms, and that its feet looked like radish, like a rat foot kind of, but like bent a little bit, and that it had male like genitalia and stuff like that. So those are the ones that I traditionally get reports on. 70% are probably type 1, maybe a little less, maybe 60%. Then second would be the German Shepherd, and the least one would be the type 3 hyena, which I still do get those, but those are the slimmer ones that are further and farther in between. But I have a theory now as to what you were saying about, so I think some of those misidentifications might be when someone's seeing it and they think it looks like more Sasquatchish and it has more of the Sasquatchy type feet. I think they might be misidentifying that as a potential dogman, but from the majority of the prints and things I've gotten, you can see that it's a large foot, but picture kind of how a dog's foot is. So as it would step down, it wouldn't be able to support itself just like this. So it's bent, but it also would be supporting itself a tad bit here on the back leg as it steps down before it bends up. And some of the footprints in the snow, you can see that so clear as day from where it's stepping down like that. And but you still see the pads on the foot, like the canine. So yeah, I think sometimes. So also the Bear Man and the Dogman and Bearzilla, I think that's a Dogman, but I think it's just this being described as it's coming to the person's head, because I've had other people say a wolf the size of a bear. So Bear Man, Wolf Man the size of a bear, it's almost in the same pot. It's just words that people are potentially just trying to use to describe it. So I don't know if I properly answered what was being asked, but
well, no, you answered it the way you answered it, and I accept it. And again, everybody's answer. We talked about data earlier, man. I love if you were to give me the same answer that I've gotten from 100 other people, I'd be like, okay, here we go again. But no, what I love about you is you got different ideas, philosophies behind all this. That's what we need moving forward. I don't like being stuck. I like to move forward. I might not agree with you. It doesn't matter. It's data, it's information, and it's always good to share these things.
Yes.
And it's a great segue, because I normally don't people send me pictures. I'm kind of like I'm 50-50 on them, but you sent me some things that I really need to share, because I really found this to be some pretty cool evidence. And I'm going to pull them up as we go. And you can speak on these here.
And what's great about what you just said, though, as well, is it's so important, though, just to still be able to speak to people and just figure out why certain aspects, why someone thinks potentially it falls into that category. Because if not, if everyone's always going to think that they know everything and be so protective about everything, then we're never going to really get anywhere as a group of researchers, because who in the scientific community wants to come into a group of people that are attacking each other and acting like we're 11 and stuff? Like, I mean, we need to sit down and have cordial conversations and think inside and outside of the box. And just be subjective and objective. At least that's my philosophy.
Hey, I just always say this. I learned this a long time ago. Healthy skepticism
Yes.
should always be considered in everything because,
Yes.
Tex always makes fun of me because I used to say, which I kind of don't anymore, BMR believes everything. But I do to an extent because I've never walked in people's shoes. So how can I call somebody a flat out BS artist, right?
Yes, understandable.
My story, if you were listening to my story for the first time and knew nothing about Bigfoot, you'd probably call me crazy. But guess what? It doesn't matter because I was there. And we're not there on a lot of these encounters.
And
So
that's why it's so important to document it, like you were saying too, because as time goes on, we lose a little bit of the grasp of what truly happened. So it's always great it's great to talk to somebody that had something happen 60 years ago, but it's just proven that as time goes by, we just plug things together a little bit that changes a little. I mean, the overall memory is there, but it's not as fresh, I guess, as if you just talk to somebody when something just happened. I just noticed the rawness, but it's good sometimes because other people that have told me some of their cases, I feel like they've been able to rehearse it for so long, I guess, if that makes sense too.
Oh, it does. It does. So I appreciate that. I'm going to move on to a couple of these pictures here.
Yeah.
One was, well, you can explain them. I'm trying to put them in a certain order. Okay, I know how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to go with this. It's with your foot or somebody's foot, and then a print of some sort here. Here we go.
Yeah, so that's actually Jamie's wife's foot right there. And yeah, I mean, she's not like a gargantuous foot on her, but I mean, she has a pretty normal size foot with a boot on that fits her a little bit loose. And yeah, when you look at that track, what's interesting about that is the back print as well as the actual digging in with the claws on the front and the padding in that, because in most of the pictures that I have not been able to debunk, that's actually the format right there that the print looks like. So the ones I was just talking about to you in the snow look like that. And now if you look at that foot right there, that actually looks like something that could actually hold up something larger. That to me looks like, hey, that could be bipedal, but if you look at a potential normal dog print, it doesn't look like it could support its weight, but that's a pretty flat foot right there. That
it's also got some nice width to it, and I got the picture that shows the width. But
yes,
I'm gonna save that for just in a few minutes here. And then here's another comparison. Tell me if this is the same as that or different. Here we go.
So that's actually one of the other tracks from the same animal, but it was coming up like he had said out of the water. So I mean, that's Jamie's hand right there. So I mean, he's got an okay size hand. I mean, he's not gargantuous, but yeah. So again, when you look at that, like you were just saying, just look at the width and the traction on that and how it's digging in on the back. It just looks to me like something could bipedally be walking like that. And he's got a video of the distance where he's trying to figure out what the stride length is, but it's pretty intriguing. It doesn't look like something that was on all fours. And like you were asking, in almost every Dogman encounter, all three types can go down on four legs or up on two legs very easily. Numerous people say that they'll see them walking towards them, they fire a gun, they dodge it or whatever, or get hit and they drop down on fours and run off, or something spooks them, they drop down. So I'm assuming on all fours they probably move faster than they would on two legs, but they seem from the encounters to be very comfortable up on two legs as well, because they have the longer lanky arms, which would tend to balance you out a little bit more, which if you look at like an orangutan and stuff, their legs are a little bit shorter, but they have the longer arms, which kind of balance them out.
One of our chat members asked, was there a trackway that indicated bipedalism on this?
Yeah, so like Jamie was saying, it was coming out of the water. It was shallower water, but it was coming up onto the shoreline out of the water, and then it was digging those holes and like near where the water was coming back around. And he, like I said, he's supposed to be sending me a video here in the next couple of days where you can actually see in the video the track distance. And it looks, like I said, I don't know the exact stride of a human being, unfortunately, but I know through some Dogman encounters that are ranges from like 28 to 36 like inches, where something that's not a normal dog or a canine type stride.
No, I agree, and I'm gonna go on to another one really quick here. Hang on.
Do you just see what I'm saying though about how with some of the other Dogman prints that people will say it just looks like more of like a large? I mean, it's a big foot like a Saint Bernard, but just look at that it's got like your width, like you said, the length. It just literally looks like it could support it upright.
Yeah,
I think
it
it
does.
could. I think it does. I absolutely think it does, and that's why I'm going to pull up these other ones now to give us a little bit of scale here. It's what you're talking about. Again, I think it's similar, might be the same, but here we go with.
What I'll do too is once our show finishes later and I get back around my phone, I'll send you just some examples of other, just what I mean about large dog prints and wolf prints. And I'll also send you the ones I have in the snow that look just like this, just so you know, like kind of like my reference as to what I was referring. Yeah, I mean, just I, I don't know. Yeah, it's baffling. And Jamie's wasn't really a believer in the dog, man. I mean, he had no reason to even be out there looking for Dogman stuff. And it was on the opposite side of the lake, which from the majority of the encounters I have, that they don't like being in the same areas.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's super strange. I mean, there are ping marks on the map where their areas coincide, but I feel like that's either one traveling or potentially a group being pushed out, because there's an old Native American tale of them basically tricking the Dogman to like go to war with like the Sasquatch. I can't remember. It might have been the Chickasaw tribe. But yeah, no. So
Well, I got you. I hear you on that one for sure. And this one here, I just wanted to pull this one up too. This shows at the top, 6 inches, right? And this is again
yeah,
from the same terrain, correct?
yes, yep, same terrain. So I mean, obviously, you got to, not you, but everyone's got to keep in mind, including myself and everyone else. I mean, we are dealing with sand. So I mean, sand and dirt and things can be deceptive in regards of moisture and things like that. But there was no rain in the area at that time, so the width and stuff, yeah. But the aspect of the weight is a little bit harder to judge because I wasn't there, and I guess I wasn't able to step in that terrain myself. But I assume if we were to step down, that we would have to make a little bit of an impression. But yeah.
And here's the last one. I get to what you're saying, man. You don't have this. It's perfectly understandable everything you're saying here. And then, of course, I really like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you just see it, yeah, like how it's gripped down, it's stepped. You can see its pad up there, and you see the back part where a lot of people say it's got the back claw on it, and I mean, it's gripping the ground.
What I find very intriguing about this is just four, like I guess you'd call them fingers or claws.
Yep.
That is crazy.
So like I said, afterwards, a little later, I'm going to send you some of the ones in the snow that have been verified as unknown animals as well. And they literally look just like this, but they're in the snow, and you can really get a good gist of the distance the thing was walking.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is real. I like this. I mean, it's like you don't know really what to make of it, right? It's certainly something. You're certainly not a dog.
I mean, and that's what my job is just to, bring light to stuff like that. And if, and just ask questions like, what is that? Why are people missing in our national parks? Why are people reporting seeing bipedal werewolves, wolfmen, dogmen? I mean, you have one of the most infamous pictures from, I think it was like 1865 France, where someone drew the picture of, back to what we were saying in the packs. There's like 5 dogmen that are leaning up against this like wall, kind of just hanging out, and the witness, that's what they saw. You have the Greeks speaking about a culture of I can't even say the word. It begins with a K and a Y. I mean a K and a C. I need to learn how to say it, but it was their version of our Dogman. And they said that they lived out in the forest. They wore clothes and stuff like that, which is interesting because some people have reported seeing strange dog-like things with makeshift like type clothing on. Super interesting. But they couldn't speak English. They could only yip and yipe, or sorry, not English, Greek. But they would understand what the local tribes were saying to them, and basically kind of be able to talk in like sign language and stuff. And Alexander the Great talks about having battles or interactions with these, and it really makes you wonder. I mean, why back then manuscripts and documenting stuff was very expensive and also time consuming, and there was wars and conquering and all this stuff going on. So if you look at the Greek culture, when it comes to documenting things, they usually only document things that have merit to it, or that have been documented throughout history and other aspects. I mean, they have their like religious type aspects with Athena and things like that. But if you actually look at like documented battles or things like that, they're very strict as to what they document. So the fact that someone took time to document that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate everything you've put into this today, with the showing us these prints and talking about your little background. We're coming up on an hour and a half. We normally go 90 minutes.
Perfect.
Is there anything you'd like to add before we call it a night?
No, I just wanted to say, obviously, thank you to both of you. I've had time with Brandy before, so I appreciate it. And I've spoken to you before, and actually sit down is a good thing. And no, I just wanted to thank both of you. And if there's anything I can do to help you out, or anything I can share with you, feel free to contact me. I mean, Rob, you have my number. Brandy, you can Facebook message me anytime you want. And I just wanted to say
once again, where can we find you? And don't forget, later, send me the link to your stuff, because I will put it in this video. Yep. But where can people right now where can they find you?
Definitely the most active when it comes to Dogman stuff on my own Facebook group, which I'll send you a link to. I believe both of you are in there. I mean, I'm in a ton of other groups that I scan through and stuff like that, but I just post everything I have in that group. So if anyone is interested in seeing encounter areas or stuff like that, it will be posted on there. And then YouTube, just because that's where I'm posting my narrations and eyewitness testimonials. And that's actually where the NADP is going to be posting our Germantown documentary coming out pretty soon. And then just my Instagram, because that's where I just post like artwork and stuff. So.
No, that's awesome. You're a fantastic guest. We'll definitely have you back on after the new year.
Yeah, no,
I want to find out more about your research. Before we go, thank you to Wink at Me for becoming a BMR pirate. Thank you to Weekline for the $10 super chat. Maggie for $2, and Lily Pond, you snuck in here, $5. Thank you, Lily. Love and appreciate all of you. Don't forget, we've got the conference coming up, and you guys will be hearing it from now until summertime, Alabama. Don't forget my book. Thank you for those who bought it. Brandy, today is Tuesday, so you guys are on
Thursday
night. You got anything interesting going on Thursday night?
Right now, I can't tell you. I don't have my calendar up. I'm using my.
You know what? I hate to put you on a spot, and I always ask Krista, and she says the same thing, so I expected nothing less.
Yeah, because we're on our computers, and that's where our calendar is.
Well, we're starting Christmas early here on the BMR shows. Now I got Varla Ventura coming on for the third time. People love Varla, and we're talking about Christmas hauntings.
Oh, my goodness!
Entities on Thursday on the brunch show at 1:00.
That's a good one for you.
Yeah, Varla's been on for Spook Night for Halloween, and then we always do a theme with her. And I think one was Halloween, and there was another spooky one she did. No, actually, we did one on mermaids for whatever. Yeah, that was cool. And then we did Halloween. Now we're going to do we're kicking off Christmas this Thursday. And I got a lot
There
of
you
cool
go.
guests lined up. Once again, Kenny, man, I do appreciate you coming on. I had a great time. Fantastic show.
Thank you very much.
And I
appreciate it.
And I could tell that the people in chat loved you too. So I want to thank everybody for tuning on in. Please like, share, subscribe to the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. Bigfoot, Mr. Rob, Texas Front Porch. And until next time, for Brandy and for Kenny, we
Take
are
care,
out.
folks. Thank you much. Be good people, and I'll talk to you very soon. I'll message
All
you
right.
here in about an hour or so. All right,
All right,
take
brother.
care.
Thank you.
Later.